Hello, and welcome to our podcast, Unseen to Unstoppable. I'm your host, Ilene Carol, and today our guest is Tashika Bowen. Tashika is a faith-driven lifestyle influencer, author, and advocate, inspiring women over 40 to embrace their unique beauty, purpose, and potential through God's love. With a passion for fashion, wellness, and spiritual growth, she shares uplifting content while mentoring young women and serving her community through leadership roles. Her journey, anchored in resilience and faith, reflects her mission to empower women to live boldly and step into their fullness of God's plan at every stage of life. Tashika, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I am so excited. And I just have to tell you, I love the title Unseen to Unstoppable for the name for your podcast. I just love it.
Thank you so much. We were talking, in the waiting room a little bit, and I just telling you how I struggle with the name, but it says it all. And even though this podcast is sponsored by Women's Quarterly magazine, I just love the fact that this is a podcast, it actually, in a literal sense, gives women a voice.
I love that. I love that concept. And, I love the things that you're doing in the community for women, empowerment. I just want to say thank you. And I really appreciate you having this opportunity set up for me today.
I'm so thankful for you too. I mean, I've been connected with some really amazing women, and they tell me, they thank me, which I'm grateful, but it's I who I'm grateful because I've learned so much through women. They're so much more mature than I am, I think, and just getting resilience and things like that. So my first question to you, because I want to get this out in the open. Did you have this aha moment that you were going to be this lifestyle influencer? Like what happened that put you in that light?
Well, what happened at first was, first of all, my daughters, they were with me for until they went to college. When they went to college, I was like, well, what can I do now? What can I do to find out who I am? Because sometimes when you have children, you devote your life to them. So actually, I was like, they told me about social media, and I got on Instagram and I kind of played around on it a little bit. But then I was like, hey, I kind of was praying about different things, and I kind of felt like God was leading me to just share my story and let this become a platform for me so that I can encourage women over 40. Now, I happen to be almost 52. But I started noticing, I don't want people to look and say, wait a minute, she looks a little older than 40 to me. No, that I don't want to do that. But I do know that when I hit the age of 40, I started noticing things as far as how people treated me a little differently, making me kind of feel like I was a little bit too old to do certain things that I would normally do, So I figured if that's happening to me, at that age, I feel like other women were going through the same thing. So the platform of being an influencer is just to encourage women through lifestyle, spirituality, and just empowerment and fashion. I love fashion as well.
I just saw one of your posts earlier. I was like, oh my goodness, like how does she do all this? I mean, she looks fabulous and everything. I mean, your body and your face and hair and everything. I mean, we'll have to talk about that later on. Like, is there a diet or something in there? But I just want to say this. I'm 54, by the way. So stop your crying.
I'm not even going to say 25 because I think we have it going on at our age.
I was like, I know she didn't say, well, I'm 52. Like this. I was like, wait a minute now. I'm in my 55th year. Anyway. So.
And we still have a lot more work to do, don't we?
And I have grandchildren too. Okay. Yeah. So I do. We took them to Mufasa, the Lion King.
I have to go see that. I have to go.
You do. Nikolai. So I was talking to you again in the waiting area that before we start that there's a waiting area for people who, might be wondering what we're talking about. But anyway, this magazine, Women's Quarterly, some people don't know. And so I went and put that story, a little bit about it in the beginning of the magazine. If you're a reader of Women's Quarterly, that it's a memory of my sister. But Nikolai is 4. He was born, my sister died, and he was born on her birthday. They have the same birthday, April 26th.
Mm.
And so anyway, he was sitting there. He told his sister, he was like, tell Gigi and Opa that this movie's taking too long. And so his sister whispered in my ear what he said, and I said, "You tell him, yes, I know, I'm ready to go too."
My goodness.
Because people don't understand that just because you're of age, a certain age, you may have a short attention span too. Like, I
Yeah.
just, I mean, it was a good movie. I mean, and I love The Lion King because I mean, when their father, my son,
Mhm.
our child, that's how many years ago it's been, because he's in his 30s now,
Mm.
and I love that movie. Now I still to this day, if I were to watch it, I'd have to close my eyes. The whole Mufasa scene where Scar throws him over, I can't stand that scene.
Oh, wow.
But it breaks my heart. It does. It breaks my heart. But after looking at this movie, that's why I'm telling you go see it. It explains a lot. It also explains, and I'm not going to like do spoiler alert, but it also explains in not an excusable way, but why people are the way they are. It's like something happened in their life that made them who they are. And it's unfortunate that they don't do the work to change, but at least something happened to that person
Mhm.
that made them like that. And that's why I enjoy talking with people like you who you're faith driven and you're positive and you're helping young women because we need somebody like that. And one person can only do so much, but at least for you probably feel this way, like, oh, if I could help one person, that type of thing.
That's true. That is true. And when you're calling yourself a lifestyle influencer or an influencer, whatever the name you may have, sometimes it's not even about, oh, I have millions of followers. You know,
Right.
if you use your platform and you can just reach out to that one person, then that may be what God had for you to do for that moment. So, I think it's so important to just, like I was saying, use your platforms or just try to get in a space where you can, where you can let your light shine. I'll say that,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. And some people just don't know that. Now, before I forget, because my brain, so you were talking about your girls. It's two girls you have, two daughters?
I have twins and they're 25. They're 25 years
Wow.
old now. So they're grown young ladies that I'm
Are
very
they
proud of.
identical?
No, they are fraternal. They're fraternal.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
If they were identical, I want to find out all the stuff they did that you didn't know about because you couldn't tell them apart.
They're totally different, but they love each other. They have their moments, but they're blessings. They're a blessing to me. But when they were born, when they were young, people were like, "How could you tell them apart?" I'm like, because they don't look alike. That's how I
Right.
tell them apart.
Right.
But they are twins, and my husband is a twin too. He's an identical twin.
Oh, wow. I bet he's got some good stories to tell.
Yes, yes, he
We should
does.
have him. We should have him on. The young lady. I don't know what day it was. Ashley Barron. She's this aspiring musician, and she has scleroderma, and her mother passed away from that. She's getting married, and I was like, we should have your fiance on maybe after they get married. But anyway, she was telling me how he's so supportive of her touring and going on the road. And I see your husband too, like he's very supportive. He's in the videos. He's very supportive of what you do. So I mean, not only that, but I mean, just now that you told me he was a twin and he's a boy too, that's going to be a good podcast.
Yeah, and he would love to come on and talk about different things because he likes to encourage people as well. His name is William, so I'll go ahead and give him a shout out. And my daughters are Imani and Janae, so I just had to put that out there as well.
Hey. So that means you're an empty nester, right? Is that what they call it? Empty nester?
Yes, I am an empty
Okay.
nester.
And so are you saying that, because I want to make sure I go back to what you were saying about how you got into this. Was that the defining moment for you because you were trying to figure out what your next thing was now that they're gone and grown?
Yes, that was the defining moment, and it's just like, okay, now is the time that I could reinvent myself. And what do I want? What do I want to do? What do I want to be? And
Right.
so, not saying that being an influencer is like, oh, that's everything that I want in my life, because I do a lot of different things and I do work a full-time job as well. So, but I just wanted to find a way to reach people. And for me, you have different platforms. You have Instagram, you have TikTok, and you have YouTube. But for me, Instagram really works for me right now. So I was like, yeah, let me get on there and let me just try to see how I can make a difference. And that's what I'm doing at this point in my life.
But that's excellent because I own a marketing and advertising agency. And the fact that because some people don't know this, the fact that you have picked the platform that works for you, that is a big deal because, some people want to follow the next shiny thing, and you see them, they're all over the place. That's not what you're supposed to do. You are supposed to find the platform that works for you. Now, if you're trying to brand, yes, you would want to go and get the same username if possible on all those platforms so that nobody's taking your stuff or trying to be you or whatever, so that you can be branded and this is who you are. Mm-hmm. And you might want to cross promote on those other platforms, but it's smart that when you pick that one that works for you, you're right. It wouldn't be like LinkedIn or X, formerly Twitter or TikTok, because here's what I want to say about that. TikTok was a shiny new thing, and it's just not for everyone. It's just that shiny new thing. I'm nothing against TikTok, but it's just not for everyone.
That's true. And I do have TikTok, but I find that I don't post content on there as much. And I say that because I think I'm more of a serious type person.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, with TikTok, you have to have you don't always have to have it, but a lot of people have their energy, or they're super creative, or they're, kind of quirky and fun. I can say that I'm not, but I just don't feel like that matches as well with my personality as Instagram does.
Exactly. No, you're right where you need to be. It's Instagram. And everyone has talked about in these past podcasts about social media and followers and things like that. So it must be a big deal to people. They must be looking at everybody and how many followers and likes and things like that they have. But one of the things is you've got to engage with people.
Yes, you do.
Engagement means commenting, because it's called social media for a reason. You can't just go through and be liking a bunch of posts. That's not what I mean, because I didn't explain it the other day when I was talking about that. So I might have a podcast maybe separate from this just to explain it so people can understand, because it's one of those things, like when you work in something, you see something and it's like you notice it and you're like, Yeah. And so I see people posting all the time and they're hardly getting any likes in the video. They're putting all this time in the videos. They look amazing. And I feel bad for them because they may have 2 likes, 5 likes, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I want to say to them, but it's none of my business, but I want to say to them, look, I mean, you've got some really great content. You're always posting out there. For somebody that's posting all the time and you're doing videos, and you were doing videos before Instagram changed their platform to compete with TikTok, and you're still only getting like 2 to 5 people, it's because you're not engaging with anybody else.
That's true. That is true. And Instagram is big on engagement.
It is.
You have to make comments. You have to, go on other people's pages and comment on their pages and things like that. So it's not an easy platform to be a part of, but I think it does work for me. And I'm just trying to do whatever it is. And I don't want to sound like preachy, but I'm just trying to, at this point in my life, do what it is that God has me to do. So if I have 4,200 something followers, that's great. That's what it's meant to be at this point in my life.
Exactly. Well, your motives. Well, it's your motives. Your motives are in the right place.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
That's exactly what it is. Your motives are in fact, that was my daily text. I read my Bible every day. Then I have a daily text that I do too, that we get every year. And so that's what it was talking about. Are your motives in the right place? Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, faith as your foundation, you emphasize that faith is a foundation of everything you do. How has your faith shaped your career, your family life, and just your overall purpose?
Oh my gosh. What I can say is that faith, if I didn't have God, if I didn't have Christ in my life, and if I didn't have the Holy Spirit, I would not be where I am today at all. And even today, it was snowing and my daughter got stuck in the snow. And I'm like, Lord, please let her be okay. Let us be able to get to her. And her car was stuck. And then all of a sudden she was able to back up and then
Wow.
drive and come to my house. So she's here today. She doesn't live with me, but she's here today. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just things in my life that I've seen how God works in my life, even connecting me with you. That's God placing people in your path for a reason. So he
Right.
was just he's taught me to trust in his timing and his direction. And I say a lot that I'm still a work in progress. So I don't want people to hear this and say, oh, she's thinking she's perfect, because I have a lot of flaws that I need to work on too. But I know that my faith, I know that what I've seen, and I could 100% say that for me, I couldn't do anything without God in my life. So he has given me platforms. I must give him the glory whenever I have a chance to do so.
Mm-hmm. And that's just your way of showing gratitude and maybe keeping yourself humble. So if someone hears something else,
Mhm.
maybe it's them that needs to work on something.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that if people kind of look back and look on their blessings and focus on the good, because we're going to have some ups and downs and some trials. God never said that we're not going to go through anything, but he does bring us through those situations, whether they're difficult or not. He if you choose to walk with him, he will bring you through. You will get
Exactly.
through it. So
Exactly.
yeah, my
I
faith is
couldn't have,
so important.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I said my faith is so important to me.
It is. I know, like, I couldn't have gotten through the whole situation with my mom without him because it was too much when people saw me and they would say, they would make comments. I'd have to make sure that I have to let them know that God is pulling me, because there's just no way
Mhm.
that one person can handle everything I was handling without him. There's a scripture, I forget where it's at, where it says he gives you the power beyond what's normal.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, that's a good one.
And that's what it was. That's what it was, because it's just no way one person could have handled all the things that I've shared with you that happened and
Mhm.
things like that. So I understand where you're coming from. Other people may not, but I truly understand and appreciate where you're coming from, and I respect that you have gratitude, because that's huge in today.
Yeah, yeah.
You mentioned you work. What kind of work do you do?
Well, I work for a company, and the company has several brands. I don't know if you've heard of Aunt Jackie's Curls and Coils and Africa's Best. And, it's the company that I work for has a lot of hair care products. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I do. I'm in the marketing department. I have a great team that I work with, some wonderful women. And that's a blessing for me too, because when you go to your job, you don't want to go and and feel like people are competing against each other.
Right.
But the people that I work with, we cheer each other on. We're like, "Oh, girl, you look nice today." It's a good work environment for me. I have to
Well,
say that.
that's
So
amazing. That's
yeah.
amazing. A lot of people don't have that. They started that cancel culture, because of the work, toxic work culture and things like that. So
Mhm.
I'm glad that you have camaraderie at your job, because that's important too. You already don't want to go to work, but if you like what you do and the people you work with, that's a plus.
Yeah, that makes it because you spend so much of your time at a job if you have
Hmm.
like a full-time job. So, you do want it to be a good experience. And like I say, at any company you have ups and downs. That's just life. But for
Right.
me, I've had so many opportunities. I would say I was able to travel, and I was able to go to the Atlanta Mayor's Ball, and just different things that for my job I have different opportunities, and I'm thankful for that.
I saw you post those photos. I'm like, God, look at her. She looks so fabulous.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Now, I have to give a shout out to my sister. My sister's name is Samantha. And so
Hi, Samantha.
she said when she knew I was going to the mayor's ball, she's like, "Oh, I want to do your hair and I want to do your makeup." And I was like, "Well, what do you want to do with my hair?" And she's like, "I want to do a half up and a half down." And I'm thinking, I'm 50 something. Is that going to be, something I need to do is a half up and a half down? But I said, let me do something different. And I put it in her hands. I didn't say a word. And I was
Mm-hmm.
very pleased with how she did the makeup, how she did my hair. And I'm thankful for that. So yeah, she hooked me up for the mayor's ball, and I had a good time, good experience, and I felt good that night.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Samantha, thank you for the hookup, because she looked amazing.
And
I
she's
was like, oh my, I was like, oh my God, is that Tashika? I didn't know how old you were, right? But I mean, however she hooked you up, I mean, you look like, you were some young chick or something like that.
Well,
I was like,
thank
what?
you. Thank
I
you.
was like, I had to keep looking at, is that her?
I'm like, is that really her? So it's her company, her brand is Jaja Boom. So she's like, I gotta Jaja Boom her. I was like, okay, do your thing. And she
That
did.
is, huh?
She did her thing for that
She
sequel.
did. She did. You looked amazing. So I
So,
know your children are grown. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I cut you off? You were saying
oh
something
no,
else?
I just said thank you so much.
You're welcome. I know your children are grown, but as women, we tend to juggle some of everything. So that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Like,
Mhm.
how balance your roles. You've written a book, you're a mother, you're a wife, you work a job. Like, I honestly, like, I'm really surprised with people like you. The other lady I interviewed, like, she's a marketer too, but she's like on doing her blog and stuff. And so when she said she worked a job, I thought, well, you're so busy, like what you do, I thought that was your job. So now I'm shocked by you as well. So now, how are you doing that? The work, the influencer, the wife.
For me, I have to have like a list of priorities. So I have a planner too. Like every year I get a new planner, and I know I'm old school, but I have to write my I have to write my goals down, and I have to write my daily things down for the day. So I do prioritize what I do each day. And then I pray, I plan, and I'm very particular about my time. Now that I'm
Mhm.
getting older, I don't like to have my time wasted. So I just make sure that I juggle things by setting boundaries. And then what I've learned at this age too is to delegate. Sometimes as women,
Mhm.
we want to do it all. We want it in a certain way, so we do it all. But sometimes you have to, people that you can trust, you have to delegate things to them so that you can take the load off of you a little bit, and then get
That is so
rest.
true.
Yeah, rest and self-care and things that will replenish you. So that's what I do. I'll travel. You'll see me go to a spa, just different things just to make sure that I'm feeling good about myself.
That's so important. I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's key, and that's something I'm trying to work on too. And I guess I'm old school too, but of course I am older than you anyway.
Not by much. Not by much.
Look, I'm gonna keep jabbing it. But anyway, I have two, and I'm gonna give a shout out to happyplanner.com. I love those women. I mean, so I've got their large version and their small version. So the large one keep here on my desk and all my personal stuff, but the
Man.
smaller one I keep track of my work stuff so I can fit it into my briefcase and things like that. So I'm just like you. I have to write everything down. I mean, the phone is great. There's a great intervention, with
Mhm.
the, taking it with you and always being connected. I always think about getting stuck somewhere or whatever. But this is just me. I personally feel like people are too tied down to their phone.
Mhm.
And, I know people's actual numbers. If I have to dial the number somewhere, it's not just stuck in my phone and I don't know what the number is.
Mhm.
And, I write things down and things like that. So I don't have a bunch of apps on my phone. And, and that's just me having an IT background. I just, I'm paranoid like that, you allow to me people to, connect to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So like I said, I'm still a paper girl. I still write things down and keep track that way, and that works for me. Everybody has to figure out what works best for them, but for me,
exactly, exactly,
that's what
exactly.
I love to do.
We mentioned that you're an author, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about your books. Tell us about those books that you've authored and published.
Okay, well, I have two books. One book is called Lord, Why Did You Choose Me? And that's kind of like a memoir. I guess I will say that. And actually, that book came about because my grandmother passed away years ago, and I was very, very close to her. We had an awesome relationship. And so I was writing poems to try to help me to get through that, the grieving process. But when you're grieving, you still have to run. I still had daughters to take care of and still had to be there for my husband. So I started journaling and just writing poetry. And then one day my mom's friend read one of my poems and she was like, "Well, what are you doing with that? Are you going to do cards or what are you doing?" So she kind of made me realize that what am I doing with the gifts that God gave me at that point? And I just decided to write a book. And and capture, several of my poems. And then the book is called Lord, Why Did You Choose Me? So I did that one. And then later on, God put it on my heart to write a book called The Colorful Adventures of Seymour T. Clearly. And that's a children's book. And it's about a young boy. He's blind, but God opens different things, that he opens his eyes to different things to show him how as a young kid, you still could have faith. So he goes on a journey, and he's a blind little boy, and his name is Seymour, because God allows him to see more things clearly. So that's
Mm,
a children's book that I have, and it's dear to my heart, and it kind of gives readers a chance to kind of be on a deeper level. And so I have
mhm.
something for the older people, and then I have something for the young people as well.
That's nice. And you just, it was so funny as you're talking and saying the name of the book. I was like, oh my God, because I was going to ask you. I was like, no, that's what it is. He can see more clearly, And I answered my own question. He can see
He can
more
see
clearly.
more clearly. So it's just like a colorful journey that God takes him on, where he just, he sees the things that his parents are going through, because God allows him to see for just a little while. And you know what? I'm not even going to say anything else about the book, because if people want it, they're going to have to check it out.
That's right. That's right. That's the plug. That's the
That's the
plug. That's the
plug.
plug.
That's the plug. It's on Amazon.
That's right. That's the plug. Speaking of accomplishments, and I should have probably said this in the beginning, but I'm going to say it now. Tashika was the runner up in our Everyday Woman's Contest for Women's Quarterly Magazine. And it was I know, it was so close till I was like, you know what? She gets a cover.
Oh,
Um, and I have not been able to check the analytics of all time, but for 2024, the year that your magazine cover was released, you got the most engagement.
thank you. So, you know what? I'm very seriously, I'm very humble. I'm very humbled by this, because it's the way that you connected with me. And let me stop tearing up. But it was
Oh
the way that you
no.
connected. Yeah, you connected with me, and you made me feel special. And for real, when I saw the title of your podcast, it's like Unseen to Unstoppable. And sometimes people don't really, especially if you're like an introvert and you're not like, see me, see me. Sometimes you don't
Mm-hmm.
feel seen, So
Mm-hmm.
I truly appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be on the cover, and to make me feel seen, and to make me feel unstoppable. So I thank you so much for that. And I'm not just saying it. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart.
You got me tearing up too. I can't get my words together now. Um, you are seen, and that cover turned out amazing. And you're one of the women, and I said this in the waiting room, that I'm just so thankful for connecting with. And I knew this podcast was going to go well, because I'm this energy person. I don't know if people understand, what I mean when I say that. And I'm not talking
Mhm.
about I don't believe in none of that. I'm just simply saying, just picking up on the vibes of people, and
Mhm.
they have good energy, you
Mm.
know, and
Mhm.
you have really good energy, and it just shows through on your posts and things like that. I mean, even in our emails, I don't know if you could feel the good energy between us,
Mhm. Yep,
you
I
know.
could. I could.
And you're right, God does put people in your path. And so I'm thankful for you too. I can't wait till, if I can get to the point where I can travel again, because I'm coming to see you and all the fabulous people that I've connected with.
Oh, I will look forward to that for sure.
Because that's what it's all about. I mean, I'm probably being selfish. People think I'm probably giving to them by providing these platforms, but I'm just going to confess on your podcast that, I'm doing it because I too, I need something. I get something from it.
Mhm.
The first lady that I, with this podcast, I told her, I said, I'm a virgin. You're breaking me. She laughed. It's Shanti Refuge. She does the journals. I don't know if you've seen her post stuff or whatever, because she too was a runner up for the second contest we did.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Okay.
and when we were waiting for everything before I don't know if it was before or after, and I told her a few things that I've been through, and she was like, "Oh my God!" She's like, "That's a documentary." you know. And I said, okay, well, maybe so, maybe I will, because maybe that is what was meant to be for me to do, because I've had people say this to me before that know some of the stuff that I've been through. They say, that's your purpose, that you're still here, you
Yes.
know. And I don't want anybody to feel bad for the choices that they make or anything like that. But it's just, I'm thankful that not only am I still here, but that I'm not an addict.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't choose those methods to
Mm-hmm.
cope,
'Cause
you know.
you could have going through what you've been through is not easy.
Right.
So I appreciate you doing this because when people hear your testimony, you just don't know how many lives that will touch. So
Mm-hmm.
this is just the beginning for you. You've already been doing some incredible things, but through this, there'll be so many people who will be able to hear, not just see a magazine, but they'll be able to hear your words. They'll be able to hear your spirit, and you'll be drawing people to you. So I'm excited to see what God has for you, and I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing because it's going to go far.
Thank you for that. And you said something and my mind went ping, 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 ping. Words are powerful, aren't they? They can either do what? Because I know you know this. They can either build up or
Tear you
tear
down.
down. Right, right. Thank you for that. Oh my goodness. Something that I appreciate about you too, because I don't know if I knew this. I think I sort of knew, but didn't really know until we did your article. Is the foundation that you're with, because we have so many similarities. I mean, you're trying to empower young, but you're doing it. You're like there in this foundation. When I'm blessed to work with a student, because that's what I do. I mentor college students, and it's not very often, but
Mhm.
you're actually part of a foundation that does that. Tell me about the foundation, the name, what it does, how people can find it, and all that
So,
good stuff.
so the organization is called Elite Women of Excellence, and it was founded by Lisa Smith. And it is such an incredible organization. It's for middle school to high school girls, young ladies. And I've never seen an organization, I know it's faith based, but I've never seen an organization that talk to young girls about abstinence, that provide like college prep courses, that have cotillions where you see the dads and the daughters dancing together. That made me
Mhm.
tear up because it's kind of like I didn't have that relationship with my father, and so
Okay.
to see young African American women, and they have different races as well, but the majority of the African American women who sometimes come from broken homes, to actually see them with their fathers dancing, and then they have mother-daughter teas, so the mother and the daughter can kind of talk about different things spiritually and say, hey, mom, I've been feeling this kind of way, but I wasn't able to mention it to you. But now there's a platform, there's an organization that allows me to feel comfortable talking to my parents about things that are hard for them to talk about. So it's a great organization. And what made me get active with it is I learned about it at first through my job, because we sponsored them. But I also felt like, sometimes when you find organizations, it's easy to just kind of throw money at them, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
Right.
let me just donate. And that's a blessing too. But God is calling us to work as well,
Right.
and not just
Right.
sit back and say, oh, He wants us to serve. And I just
To
felt like
serve.
this organization, and because I have daughters too, it's just an
Mhm.
organization I felt was very important, and that I really wanted to be a part of it.
That's amazing. Before I forget, let's also, and I'm going to let you have the floor for that, do a shout out for the other fabulous woman that was featured with you, because Lisa was featured with you as well. We just talked about her as she's the founding member of the organization, correct? Or did I say that with the founder, I guess? So
Mhm.
go ahead and say something about the other woman that she was featured with you in the magazine.
So it was Lisa, and Lisa, we talked about her, but then there was also Sherry James, right? She is
Mhm.
she's an influencer. I think she's over 60, but she is so sharp, and
She is.
she
She
is
is.
so
I'm jealous. So she put. I was like, I haven't been able to like talk with her on social media. I'm just like, I'm jealous on like those clothes and how she looks. But anyhow, go ahead. I digress. Go ahead.
So it's like her handle is Miss Sherry James. And so, I ran into her and I ran into some other ladies, beautiful ladies as well that I did a collaboration with. But Sherry, she on her platform, she shows you at 60 how to have fashion, how to have class and elegance. And just I've seen her page on Facebook as well, and she's always putting scriptures out and just different things to encourage and motivate women. So yeah, so I was glad to collaborate and that they were able to be her and Lisa, that they were able to be a part of the magazine because they're very inspirational women as well.
They are. They are. Now, earlier I was telling you how great you look, especially in the video I saw today.
Thank you.
And you're trying to influence women of age. Do you have any type of beauty health regimens that you do?
You know what? I am going to share this with you. First of all, I do have like not a lot of bad health issues, but I do know the importance of taking care of myself. So I do try to work out some, but not as much
Mhm.
as I should. But I do have issues with high cholesterol and pre-diabetes and different things like that. So I've tried to start eating healthier. But what I really wanted to share too is I gained a lot of weight and I was feeling not a lot of weight, but a lot more weight than I was used to. And I realized that I had fibroids that had grown back. I
Mm.
had fibroids. I had a procedure done, and then they came back, and I started kind of noticing different things about that and about the way my body was doing. So recently, I would say the week of Thanksgiving, I actually had a procedure done called the UFE, the uterine fibroid embolization, and I've noticed that that has kind of allowed me to start. The fibroids shrink. Most of them will shrink. I won't say, and it depends on the woman as well, but they're supposed to shrink after that procedure. So I've noticed that I have lost weight since I've had that procedure done. And it's very minimally invasive. So, I kind of bounced back pretty quickly from that. But that did kind of take off a little bit of the weight, but then I do, walk, and I have been this year trying to watch what I eat a little bit better than I usually do.
So, as women, we share secrets and we talk and things like that. So, because you said what you were going through, do you mind also, just in case someone listening may have a similar condition, how was it discovered? Was it just through your regular checkups, through the OBGYN, or something else?
Yeah, for me, it just kind of felt like pressure in my pelvic area, and I kind of knew like, okay, something is feeling different about my body. So I went to my gynecologist and I said, hey, a while back I had a procedure done, and I feel like my fibroids may be coming back. And so she ended up having me do like I think an ultrasound, and the ultrasound showed that I had about six of them. And she was like, "Hey, you have fibroids. One is the size of a lemon, and then you have five more that's the size of plums, and that takes up a lot of space in your uterus, you know."
Well, it does. It does.
So
The size
that
of a plum.
lemons, I was like, okay. So anyway, to make a long story short, I ended up getting the MRI done, and it showed me that there were even more fibroids. And then when I talked to a specialist, he's a well-known specialist in Atlanta that kind of does this procedure. So he told me I had like it was more than 11 fibroids. It was several, it was many. So I was like, okay, I have to do something about this. And so I chose to do the UFE, but there's other procedures. But the thing about the UFE is a lot of women, they don't know that they can preserve their uterus. And so they may just jump to get a hysterectomy. So, they need to talk to their doctors about all the options that are available to them before they just, jump and do something. Just make sure they do their research.
But that's why I wanted you to share that, because see, just what you said at the very end. See, somebody may decide to do what you said. They don't know about this procedure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The young lady that I was saying that she's the spokesperson for that foundation, she was saying the same thing, that thanks to her mother having the knowledge, she was able to pass it on to her, because that's the thing. You can't depend on medical people to tell you anything.
No.
sometimes you gotta know things your own, or like through these conversations we're having and things like that. So thank you for opening up and sharing that, because it might help somebody else.
That's true. And as you start, getting a certain age, and I don't want to keep saying that, but
It's true.
it's
It's
true.
true.
It's true.
It's
And a
true.
long time ago, we didn't talk about like perimenopause or menopause or hysterectomies, or we tend to treat that like it's hush hush. So a lot of women, they don't have the education that they need to know what to do for their bodies. And we just have to make sure that we have these conversations and not just, oh, I don't want to talk about it because somebody might look at me differently, or if I say I had a procedure done, they may think it's a tummy tuck versus a you. We need to get out of our heads and start educating each other so we can, just make sure that we're taking care of ourselves.
Absolutely. So what's next for you? You got any exciting projects or things coming up? Any goals you want to pursue in the next coming years?
I do. I do have something very exciting that I would like to share. So recently, you know how I said, just kind of in my world now, I'm trying to listen more to God and everything, and I'm trying to learn to get out of my comfort zone. And so I do have, my sister has a connection to someone that she knows is happens to be like a producer and a director, and his name is Howard Clay. And so he has made movies before. And so he put out like something on Facebook that said, "Hey, we have a short film and we're looking for actors of any talent to try out for it." And so it was just put on my spirit. Let me just try it. Not that I'm an actress, not that I've done this, I did a little stuff through my job, but I just was like, let me just go for it. All they can
Hmm.
say is yes or no. So I submitted a monologue and everything. And then I ended up being a cast member of a short film called Healing from Silence. So I wanted to give a shout out to Dr. Monique Akasi, because she is the one who wrote the screenplay for the screen for the short film Healing from Silence. And it's supposed to be at the Black Film Festival in Howard University in February. So it's very exciting. We're looking
That's
forward.
amazing. So are you still in production, or is it finished?
It's finished. It's
Okay.
finished. And
Okay.
I'm
Well, I guess so, because it's due February. Okay,
yeah,
that answered my
yeah.
own question.
So we're
Does
gonna
he have? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say they're gonna have the premiere in February. So I haven't even seen it yet. I've only seen the piece that I was involved in, but I think that the acting is gonna be just I've seen the table read, and those actresses and actors, they did a great job. So I'm looking forward to seeing how everything pulls together.
That's amazing. Does he have any other productions coming up? Has he shared that with you?
I'm not. I heard that he has some coming up. There's one that he's done already called Mile 19. So yes, it's a short. It's no, actually, this is a regular length film, but it's called Mile 19. And I'm not exactly sure what station you can find that on, but I know that if you Google it, it probably will show you where you can see it. But he has done films before.
That's amazing. I've always wanted to. I was asking for one because I've always wanted to kind of go on a set and kind of see what someone does, and do some
Mhm.
video footage of what goes on behind the scenes. So I might ask you later about his info, if that's something he might be open to. I guess he just does it in Atlanta.
He does, but I'm not, he may be willing to travel, or, he may be willing to sit down and talk to you about some questions you may have. So I can definitely connect you to him.
That'd be great. So I always ask everyone this: what is their favorite quote, motto, or mantra? And it's just one. It doesn't have to be all three. So what's your favorite quote, motto, or mantra?
So I do want to say for that, it changes depending on the season of my life. And
Mm-hmm.
right now, I'm at a season where my favorite quote is actually a scripture from the Bible, and it's from Second Timothy 1, and it's verse 7. And it's, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." And I say that because, as your podcast says, we're trying to be unseen to unstoppable. And sometimes when you're trying to move from one point to the next, the fears and the doubts and the unbeliefs will come in. And so I have to lean on quotes that I feel like will give me just motivation to move through things that I'm not comfortable with. So
Right.
that's my favorite. That's my favorite because
But that's a good one.
yeah, that's and like I say, at this point, and I might have
Hmm.
another one later, but yes, at this point, that's what it is.
And it's so fitting for the podcast. And you've mentioned, how you really like the name of our podcast and the theme of it. And so I don't even have to ask that question because usually I will ask that question, like, how does the theme fit in with, that person, how they feel? But you've mentioned it so many times. So I know you really are appreciative of this platform, and I'm glad it gives me affirmation for starting it.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I can say is that it connects to my life so much, being that I'm not the type of person that when I walk into the room, everyone stops and I command the attention. I've learned to be humble. So there's a lot
Hmm.
of things in life that God has blessed me with. And sometimes a long time ago, I would not share that because I would feel like, well, if I say this, that might make somebody feel bad. If God blessed me with this, then somebody else may feel some kind of way. But at this point in my life, I am starting to accept the blessings and show people, hey, this is, if you have God in your life, you should have blessings and different things, and you
Hmm.
should be able to let your light shine. And so people should be able to start seeing you. And in order for me to do that, I have to come out of my shell and become unseen to unstoppable. So I love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how can our listeners find you or connect with you?
Okay, so if they want to find me, I hope they do, and they can find me on Instagram at I am Tashika Bowen. I'm also on TikTok, but I don't do a lot on that. But it's the same name. I am Tashika Bowen. And if they want to go to my website, it's just tashikabowen.com.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, thank you, thank you
Thank
for coming
you.
on today.
Thank
I
you
know we
so
had
much.
some technical struggles and you and I we worked through it. And that's what I'm saying. Because of your energy and mine, we got through it. Somebody else would have been like,
We made it through. Goodness, they don't even know what we went through before this.
They don't, but that's the beauty of, when you walk in your purpose and and you're, have God's blessing, whatever, because nobody should know. Nobody should be able to
Nope.
know,
Nope.
and so yeah, so thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you as well, Eileen. I appreciate you and I thank you so much for this opportunity.
You are welcome. Thank you to our guests for listening. And please, please, please like, share, follow, comment. Thank you for being a part of this wonderful journey that we've been on with showcasing fabulous women and telling their stories. You've been listening to Unseen to Unstoppable, and I am Ilene Carol. And until next time.